Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Anwar Khalil from Martian Logic. I'm the CEO, and I'm really happy to be here. And thank you for taking the time to join us on this webinar. I'm joined today with the team, Jasmine, Jesse, and Eddie from Marketing Behind the Scene. Jesse, Jasmine, how you doing, guys?
Good morning, everyone.
So,
ready for an exciting session.
Welcome, everyone. We've got a few people on the call already. Leonie and Margie and Michelle, welcome to the webinar, guys. Thank you for taking the time. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be about how you incorporate your agreements data, such as award data that you entered within the platform via the the agreements page. Once you've collected your data, such as enterprise agreement or award data, or even a banding system, private banding system, etc., how you then use that data through the recruitment workflow, starting from the request to hire. On that form, how do you bring in this data from that same single source of truth, which is the agreement page, how you feed that data into the form, and how you make that still editable somehow if the hiring manager perhaps want to override it, and how do you then feed that, what was submitted in the form, to the approvers and make all that visible. And finally, when you're making an offer, once you've gone through recruitment and you want to make an offer to one or more people, then how do you make that also available to the person making the offer and allow them to decide on the final level? Because, you know, at the request to hire, you might be saying, look, for the food and beverage attendant in our restaurants, depending on the experience, they could be starting at level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And that gets approved, as in when we're hiring someone who will be starting in either of those levels. But clearly, once you've made up your mind and you spoke with the person, negotiated what you believe is the right level for them based on their experience and superstar abilities, etc., you want to then be able to select the final pay rate that they will be on. And that's the final pay rate that will feed into the contract when you go to generate the contract at the final phase of the process, which is the onboarding phase. So that's what we will be talking about. It's really exciting. We've been doing work on this piece for 3.5 years now, since we began the work on the agreements and just going to call it the remuneration in general. We used to call it remuneration. Then we decided, we got feedback from clients that they want to also clearly be able to cater for not just employees within the platform. They want to manage volunteers. They want to manage external contractors, you know, ABM-based contractors. And so therefore we go, well, employee is not going to cut it. It's too specific now, hard-coded into an employee type. So we call that piece engagement. So the engagement, you're engaging someone in your workforce on an employee basis, on a volunteering basis, on an external contractor basis, etc. We can keep adding more engagement types. So if you're wondering why we call it engagement and you're saying, why don't you just call it pay data, or why don't you just call it remuneration? We understand your frustration, but that's the dilemma that we had. And I wish we could come up with a better name, which is, if you have a better suggestion, please let us know. So yeah, we've got guys, what's called a poll, icebreaker. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're going to start with the icebreaker. So what is your favorite season? And I know mine, definitely summer.
Canadian girl that left Canada to come to Sydney. What do you think it's going
to be? And spring is taking the lead. Interesting.
Yeah, you would think so, to be honest, when you think about it. But yeah, I know what I mean. And especially if you're living in Australia, we sometimes we love summer, but we can be really sick of it, too hot and whatever.
True.
We're not short on hot days in this country, put it this way. Yeah. Very good. So again, welcome everyone. Just waiting to just go over 11 before we start. which is now is 11 and 1 past 11. So we're going to get started. Thank you very much for taking the time. As I said before, as you probably know already from reading the agenda for the webinar, we're talking about the pay data, but we're focusing on the pay data from the point of view of how you incorporate that pay data, such as award information, award pay levels, or enterprise agreement pay levels, or a banding, banding system pay band levels. Either of those. Once you've collected that data, you've entered that data in the agreements page, and that's what we covered last week, but we will go quickly there just to create that connection. You enter all that data in the agreements page. Then how do you incorporate or streamline, feed that data from that single source of truth into your request to hire or in general recruitment process, starting from the request to hire form? I hope that makes sense. And I think we should get started, and then pictures sometimes can be worth 1,000 words, as we all know, and then we'll explain it as we go. So I'm logged on here to a fictitious account, which is a restaurant business, a company with multiple restaurants. Oh, share my screen. Thank you, Eddie. Share. There. Here we go. I need to share. Which one am I sharing? I believe that's the right one. Can you see the screen now? Can you see the org chart?
Yes, it's just come through. It's actually on your emails, Anwar. Yeah.
Okay. So I've shared the wrong thing. Sorry, guys. Let me just stop sharing and share it again. I've picked the wrong window when I did the sharing. So it must be this one then. There, got it. Perfect. So I'm in the org chart of a fictitious account that we have for the webinar purpose. It's a restaurant business made up of multiple restaurants in multiple states in the country, across the country. And you can imagine there's a restaurant manager, front of the house manager, etc. So we want to do the hiring under a particular restaurant, and which is this restaurant here, the Dancing Dingo restaurant, and the restaurant manager is Alan Evans. And under Ellen, Hillary reports to Ellen. She's the front of the house manager, and that's where we're going to be doing the hiring of a food and beverages attendant. So we go back quickly to the agreements to create that connection, that link from last week. We talked in details about how to enter that data. I'm just going to spend only 1 minute to create that connection before we move into what we want to talk about today. So in this case, because it's it's a national business, we've got restaurants in almost every state. We've got the Hospitality Industry Award captured for New South Wales and for WA, etc., etc. We're going to focus on the New South Wales today because that's the restaurant we're going to be recruiting for, a restaurant in that company that happened to be in Bondi in New South Wales. We've got this job family here. Under this job family, we've got multiple levels, and there's the pay data there, hourly rate, casual rate, and the standard salary rate. We're not going to talk too much about how to create this and all that, because we covered that last week. People might get frustrated because we would be repeating what we did last week. So the data has been already captured. So now I want to quickly go to the positions. This is a brand new position I've just created this morning for the purpose of the webinar. And if I go into it, it's already linked into the agreement. Also, I'm not going to talk too much in details about that, how to do that, because we covered that last week. You create the position and you link it into your single source of truth of pay data, which is the agreements page, the data in here. So we create a position and we link it, and it's all done for this particular one, as you can see there. And we decided that when we're hiring someone in this role, they could be starting on either of those levels. And the type of hire we do for employees is just permanent full-time, permanent part-time, or casual. That's the only types that we allow for. We don't do contracts, for example, fixed term. Okay, so this position has been designed by the HR team and ready to be used. So now we're going to see how then it's used, how that data that we entered here, which is what the topic of the webinar today, how that data that we entered here, we spend our time entering that, is going to be feeding into the recruitment process, starting from the request to hire requisition form. Okay, we're going to go to the org chart. We can search on Hillary from here, or we can just find her by the navigation. If I do the search, it's going to collapse the org chart like that. If I want to see the siblings and stuff here, I can open it there, and I can open it there. Otherwise, I could have just navigated and found Hillary. So we're going to Hillary is the person hiring at the moment for a food and beverage attendant. She's going to click there, and she's going to select the option of recruit for nodes under this node. We bring up this pop-up here, and we show Hillary all the vacancies, the nodes that are vacant that happen to be under her. There's 2 vacancies of waiter type, of positions, and 1 bartender vacant position as well. But Hillary want to hire food and beverage attendants, so she chooses option B, where she can create the vacant position on the fly. So we're going to select now the food and beverage position that I've created for the purpose of today. We select it, and then we say, look, we're saying there's a bit of a warning here that this is going to create the node in the org chart. So clearly this is a big deal because a new vacancy is being created. And so what we do, we allow for that convenience for Hillary to do it on the fly. However, as you'll see in a minute, we make the entire node in the org chart, although we create it on the fly, we make it pending the approval. So the approval of the requisition is doing 2 things. It's approving the creation of the vacancy as well as the hiring into it. So we're doing it 2 into 1, which is cool. So if we go next, and we choose a workflow, a requisition. There's only one in my account, so it's already selected. It's called requisition form, and we go next. The form will pop up. So everybody on this call, I'm sure, is using a request to hire form. So this is no different. From this point onwards, it's the same. Even if you're not using the org chart, this is how it would look for you. I want to cancel this for a moment and come back to it, and you'll see why. I want to elaborate a little bit on what we discussed before about the creation of the node. This is the node that we allowed Hillary to create on the fly. But you can see in here, it's not a normal node. We make sure it's pending approval. So if this request to hire gets rejected or cancelled, then this node will disappear. So the creation of the vacancy as well as the hiring into that vacancy are both now on the approval table. Do we have any questions so far, guys? I would love to pause and take any questions that you might have so far.
We don't have any yet, but I thought I'd also just elaborate on that further, Anwar. Although the engagement field and that data is designed to flow beautifully out of the org chart, which is live and dynamic, if you don't have the org chart, we can still set up this data for you on the back end that is included.
100%. 100%. Good point. Thank you, Jasmine. Very good. So
Alex, if it's possible to upload multiple vacancies with an upload feature.
Multiple vacancies. Upload. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I've got the question when you say vacancies, as in create vacant nodes here. Oh yes, okay.
Yeah, multiple positions.
Sure. Let me see. I'll go back there and see if that's what we're talking about. So if I go back and do this again, as in we're doing another hiring, and I'll select option B as we did before. I can select the same position still, it's fine. If what you meant, I can increase this. Yes, absolutely. So now I'm going to create 7. But I'm not sure if that's the question, mind you, but let me at least just get there. So I'll do the same thing. I exit, and we'll see now all the vacancies, those 7 get created, and they're pending approval. Is that what the question was, or did I answer the wrong question?
Is that what you're referring to, Alex? Yep, perfect.
Excellent.
Thanks,
cool.
Anwar.
So I'm going to cancel that particular one that I just did, and those 7 nodes should all go. and we go back to the one that I started before with only one vacancy, and I'll reopen the process from here, the open approved, to go back to the form, and that's pretty much a center conversation to today's webinar, how that data from the pay data feeds into the form. As you can see in here, the position is already selected on the form because we've already selected the position. I need to choose the location of the business, the restaurant. So it's called the Dancing Dingo, I believe. Dancing Dingo in Bondi. The engagement is already selected at employee because we know that the position has been by the HR team flagged as it's an employee-based engagement position, and it's also set up, as you can see, the permanent full-time, permanent part-time, and casual already been set up. So it's up to the manager now to decide, are they hiring full-time, part-time, or casual? If I stick to the permanent full-time, don't forget the manager is driving this, they will see that it's all there ready to go. They don't need to do anything. It's linked to the agreement. It's the right agreement. It's linked to the right position. It's linked to the levels. These are the 5 levels that we decided that we're happy to start people depending on their experience and stuff like that. And that will be finalized as you will see later on when we are making an offer, when we find the person, when we are negotiating with the people. So at this point, they don't have to do anything. It gets saved like that. So nothing else for me to do in here, except I want to mention an interesting feature that, this engagement field here, it's a very, very powerful field. It appears to be like a normal custom field on the form, but clearly, it's linking all your engagement data in here, and it's creating the ability to cater for all the different users. It can work with the HR user, and it can work with the manager, with the approver, etc. It's got a lot of facets to it, and we will cover a few of those. And for example, one of those facets, although it's a fairly complex field, as you can see, this is the engagement. It's got the employment type. It's got all these different aspects to it. When it's still treated like a normal field. So for example, I've created a dependency. If I go to the admin, guys, I'm going to switch tabs. I've got the admin open here, and I'm going to, it's not the admin. So I'll go to admin from here. So I've got this.
Oh, we're here, Anwar. Annalise has a question. She'd like to know if the employment types are customizable. For example, they don't have permanent roles at their company as they're working on a large project, so they only have fixed-term roles and wouldn't like permanent in the positions for a manager to select from, and can it be removed?
Sure. So when you say removed, we don't remove them, but when you're, I can come back to this, that's fine. But in the position here, I create fixed. Sorry, what was the? Can you give us an example of the positions that you hire for? A position name, please.
Wait for one to come through. For a project manager, for example,
Sure.
Fixed term employment. Temporary full-time.
Sorry, temporary full-time? Sorry, is that what you said?
Yes, temporary full-time.
Okay, I'm not sure what temporary full-time is. Temporary full-time. Okay. Would that be when you say temporary, a fixed term full-time? I think so.
Yeah.
Fixed term, yeah? Okay. So I can still connect it. What is really interesting to note here, by the way, Alex, if we can please have an answer to this following question. Do you also want to bring the data from a paid data, or is it just common law? With common law, for example, you can just do it here on the fly. So I can say this is fixed term. And do you have a banding system, in other words, or do you have any awards to adhere to, or is this just, where would the paid data come from, the rules for the paid data?
Annalise has just responded, they just don't want the word permanent in all the options. So is it possible for the hiring managers to choose from, for example, just fixed term full-time or fixed term part-time, but not having an option to request a permanent employee?
We don't at the moment. At the moment, they will be there, but they are not designed. They're already set that in bracket, we can maybe change that already set to be something different, change the colors maybe. So you can just say to your managers, just work with those colors, etc. And we could make it a feature to just say for this particular client, for this account, make the ones that aren't set up, which is what we are doing right now, doing the setup on, make them unselectable. So when it doesn't appear, or if it's selected, it says you can't choose from that type. We can look into that. I don't think it's a major deal. If we can have a conversation, just explain, make sure we both agree that they shouldn't be there. Just be convinced it's a feature that will be used by other clients. It makes sense. We will definitely do that. It's really not a major deal at all.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thanks. We'll follow up offline, Annalise.
Yes. Actually, we should have a quick conversation about it. Good point. Thanks, Jasmine. All right. So I want to go back to the I haven't submitted the form yet, have I? I was halfway through it. Okay. So I'll go back to the org chart to reopen that form. I'll find quickly Hillary and open all the child nodes there. This is the position that we're working on, recruitment draft approval requisition. We open the approval and we're about to submit it. Yes, what I was going to explain to you guys, something powerful. For example, I've set up here a dependency. This is the admin now. I've changed tabs to the admin of the form. I've got this thing called part-time roster. And what I've done is I've got,
So you want to show the admin section?
Yeah, of course.
You've only got the tab open.
Damn, the sharing is not working today. Sorry, guys. Let me fix that sharing once and for all. What's going on with that? I'm going to stop sharing and do it again. I'm just going to share the whole thing, man. Easier. That was tabs as opposed to windows. Alrighty. Okay, entire screen. I've got no time for that. Can you see now the admin? What can you see now?
It's just your Gmail again.
All right. Gmail is important, but not that important. Okay. Sorry. I couldn't help that joke. All right. We're going to do entire window. I think I've got it now. Perfect. Okay. So this is the admin tab as opposed to where we were here on the form. I'll just jump to the second tab for the admin of how we customize the request to hire form. I just want to show you a couple of options. For some of you that don't know much yet about the request to hire form, it's a very, very, very powerful piece. It's 6-7 years in the working. We keep adding more and more functionality. So for example, this particular, I think it's a multi-choice drop-down. Yeah, it's a drop-down multi-choice, and it's got the days of the week. What I did, I went here and I went to dependencies, and I've set up a dependency on, let me remove them and we'll do it from scratch. So what I want to do with this field, I want it only to appear if the employment type is casual or part-time. Otherwise, I don't want it to appear. So how do we do that? We start from the top, we choose show, and we choose and or all, we want or, and we choose select specific option. I'm not going to go into too much details. We could be spending half an hour on this if we had to, although you can really do it, discover it on your own. I'm going to choose the field that it depends on is the engagement. And this is going to show us in here, the engagement only has one drop down, and that's the employment type that we exposed here. So I want the dependency to be based on the employment type. And I'm going to choose the casual to start with. I'm going to add that. And I'm going to do another dependency on the part-time. Sorry, what happened there? Engagement, employment type, and say part-time, and add, and save. If I go back into it now, I want to add another one. There, engagement and employment type, and to the casual. Perfect. So now I've got the two dependencies just go back to confirm.
Didn't click add.
I did not click add?
Nope.
Oh, sorry. Eddie picked up on something apparently that I didn't do. Casual. Ah, he's right. Thank you, Eddie. So now I've got the, there's an or between them. So I'm saying show this field if either the employment type is part-time or the employment type is casual. Either of these options selected, show it, otherwise it'll be hidden. And I'll save it, and that's what we will see is happening. So for example, if I do a quick preview and test based on what we just did, depending on the employment type, so if I select here food and beverages, and I select the, let's start with the casual to make sure it comes up. It comes up. If I change that employment type from casual to say permanent full-time, I'll just put in here 38 quickly. It disappeared. So that's how the dependency worked based on the employment type. You can make certain fields come in, certain fields disappear, but also the approvers, there could be dependency. For example, if you don't want the CFO or the CEO to be involved based on the employment type or based on the fact that it's a new vacancy, brand new vacancy, as opposed to just replacing someone. You want therefore certain people to be involved or not involved in the approval, you can do that as well. It's a very, very highly customizable piece. Just wanted to give us that example. So we're going to close this, and we're going to go back to what we were doing here on this form and submit it for approval. So with the approval, if I open it one more time just to have a look at who the approvers were. The first approver, the way it's set up here, and this is where the clock, it shows you where it's sitting at right now. It's waiting for the HR team for accuracy. They want to check if that submission is correct and add value, especially when it comes to the pay data. This is how it's set up. So the first approver is HR. After that, the head chef or the restaurant manager, either of those people will be able to approve it. After that, the final approver is the MD. From there, it's going to go to the HR team to begin the recruitment. This is how the approval is set up. Does anybody have any question about what we discussed so far on the form, some of the capabilities that maybe you want to know whether they're possible or not, and the customization of all that? Any questions, guys? All right, if we don't have any questions, we're going to now see how the approval works. So the HR now have been prompted to do it. Because I'm one of the people who is logged on at the moment. I'm an HR admin and I'm the approver as well. I can actually do it from here. So I don't want to lose this page. I'll just do it from here. If I go to my jobs, it should be coming up at the top and it's pending approval. I can go and approve it from here because I'm the HR user and I'm the approver. However, I want to show you how it would come up in an email as well. So that's the email waiting for us here. And I click on this. And this is 100% responsive. So if you open this on a mobile, it will work 100%. In fact, it was designed mobile first. It looks better on the mobile. Nevertheless, because the way we designed that, part of the customizations as well, guys, if I go to the admin here, I want to show you, I don't need this page. Back to the admin here, the workflow, and this is the workflow that we are editing. When I designed this particular approval point, the HR team, if I do the editing here, I've decided that this field here, if I have a look at the advanced, I've decided that the HR team, this particular approval, it's editable. The pay data, the whole engagement field is editable for the HR approvers, but not for the head chef, not for the MD, not for anybody else. So the person who is submitting it can do the editing, followed by the HR and no one else. I mean, this is really, really cool piece of customization that you have on a per field basis to control if you want that field to be editable by any of the approval points throughout the process. Do you have any questions about that, guys? And this is why there's the edit button here. So HR, even if they get this from their mobile or you know, if they're not logged on and they are dealing with it just from their email, they come up here, they're able to do editing and fix up anything here because this is how it's designed to be. Otherwise, hold on.
Christy would like to know if it automatically defaults to being not edible for everyone except the hiring person.
Yeah, of course. I mean, whether it's default or not, yeah, this is how you do the setup. I'm not sure if I understand the question. Sorry. So this is how you would do it from here. Did you say editable or not editable?
If it defaults to not being editable for everyone.
This is the default. This is how you create in the default. So in here, you just make sure it's read only for this, and that means it's not going to be editable for anybody. That's it, for any requisition going forward. This is at the admin level. You just do it here once.
Perfect.
If that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to leave it editable for us here. And so we back to the to this, I'm going to approve it from the system from here, and now it will have gone to the next approval. So that would be the next approver here, and I think that was either the restaurant, the head chef, or the restaurant manager will have the approval here. At the bottom, you can see approve or reject, and I'm going to approve it, and it's going to go to the next approver again. And a new email should be generated. I think this is the MD. Yep. Salvatore MD. And same thing. And it's not editable, as you can see here. And we approve it. We don't need this.
And what Annalise would like to know, so if somebody rejects the requisition, does it go back to the previous person or back to the original person who raised the requisition?
Yeah, the original person will have to make some adjustments to it and submit it again. Or, you know, decide to just cancel the whole thing, whatever. But yes, certainly the person that submitted it it has to start all over again. Otherwise, it's a loophole in the workflow. You can't expect someone to approve something and after that fact, go and make any changes to it.
Fixed.
So it starts all over again. It goes back to the person that submitted it, and then they can resubmit it or not resubmit it. It's up to them. But the idea is you would make the changes and then submit it again, and it should be cool. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, great.
Cool. So if we go to the jobs, it's been approved now by the 3 different approval points. And now I'm the HR person. I'm the person who was assigned to be able to recruit for it. So if I go into it, I'll see that, sorry, to start with, just make sure it's all been ticked, all been approved now. And it's waiting here with the HR team for the recruitment purposes. In this account, we've got multiple recruitment workflows. So I have to select which workflow I want to use for this hiring, and then I will complete the approval. It takes me to the design tab, where I can draft the job ad and do the posting and the other tab, etc. We're not going to touch on that, guys, today. We want to go into the candidates, and I'm going to link a fictitious candidate against this that I've prepared before. Sorry, link existing. It is this one here. I'm going to tick, and I'm going to click on link to this job. So now we're going to assume that we've been speaking with this candidate, we've interviewed, etc., and we want to make an offer to them now. Because do you remember, we're focusing only on the request to hire phase the offer phase, the onboarding phase, and we're only focusing on the part that's pertaining to how we streamline that pay data from the single source of truth being the agreements page. This is really what this webinar is focusing on. So that's why I'm rushing to get to that phase and I'm skipping everything else. I'll go and move that person to the final offer. Call it whatever I call it. I normally call it offer finalization. So you click on that and we bring up again the request to hire. We show you at the top that this is the candidate name. Gosh, it should have been wrapping here a bit better. And this is the report to person. And we now force you to finalize the engagement, the remuneration data. So you click on it, it's mandatory, it's in red, and you have to choose which of those levels you've negotiated this person to be on. And you say, okay, we've agreed on level 3. They can even decide to override that if they want, and clearly can be configured that they require approval. And I've designed the approval and approved for that purpose. I've decided that it has to go for the MD or the restaurant manager to approve it, and they need to provide a justification report why they went over the 46,000 or whatever the level was. So I have to type justification report here. This is my justification report, etc., and I want to send it for approval now. So the email should be, I should get an email now about that.
Anwar, Alex has a question.
Yep.
I'd like to know if can all managers who can put in a requisition see all the REM data? For example, could a food and beverage manager select a job outside of their structure, for example, in marketing, and be able to see those salary ranges?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I'm not sure if I got it. Where are we talking about here, guys?
So for the access levels, so if a hiring manager,
Yep.
for example, a food and beverage manager, would they be able to log in and see, select a job, for example, in marketing, and be able to see that salary range data? Or can they only see?
Yeah. Okay. So no, you're right. If at the moment, if you select from the drop down a marketing role, we will be showing you what the data that is linked to that marketing role is, etc. In other words, even if we block them from seeing the agreements page, which we can, that's easy. We can say, look, you can't go in here if you're a hiring manager. That's easy. And I think it's like that by default, as a matter of fact. If you're a hiring manager, you probably can't come here. Yeah, I'm sure. So that's the easy part anyway. What I guess I'm saying here, I'm seeing that at the form itself, if they select the marketing role instead of a food or beverages, they'll probably be able to see what was designed against it by the HR team. They will see which agreement or which banding system, etc., and see the minimum, maximum, if it's a band, for example, for that role. So yeah, at the moment, it's not designed to cater for that. We're really happy to listen to any suggestion about how all this works. We're making changes all the time. Just last week, we've added a nice update feature here, for example. So for all those levels here, I can do a bulk update here to increase it by, say, 2% or something like that. So we're adding features all the time. And let's take this offline and have a thoughtful conversation about it. If we feel it makes sense and it adds value to the platform, we will be able to give you ETA to it.
Awesome. Thanks, Anwar. We'll take that one offline as well.
You're welcome. All right. So in here, guys, we've received the email for the final offer approval. So do you remember we've selected level 3 and we overrode the 46,000 associated with level 3 and we made it 55,000, and therefore it has to go for approval, and that's the MD or the restaurant manager, either of them. So they both get an email and one of them has to approve it. So we're going to see what this is like. This is also a highly responsive form on a mobile that works perfectly. And so this is what the approver sees. But what I like about it, and this is by the way, the justification report, guys, that I've written here. What I like about this is the fact that it's not just about the offer only, it's got 3 dimensions. It shows the full story. It starts with the requisition. You can see what the requisition was, what the business approved. The business approved that we're hiring someone that could be starting in either of those levels under this particular job family in this particular agreement. Then it shows them who approved it and when. As a matter of fact, it's all here on the right. And then it says, okay, here's the candidate that we would like to hire against this request to hire. And they'll be able to see all different aspects of this candidate. Screening questions, reference checking that happens, with the automated reference checking or manual reference checking. You can customize what tabs, what information about the candidates that you want to share with the person approving this hiring. The default is those 3 tabs, but we did not do a proper application, so that's why the screening questions are empty. Had this person applied, it will all be their question and answer. And so to start again, we show them the full story, the requisition, the person we decided to make the offer to, and what the offer is. And the fact that it's now 55,000 and what the justification report is. I mean, this is really a really powerful piece, and that's available out of the box without an extra cost if you're paying for simply the recruitment and onboarding. It's not like an extra feature. I find that only about 50% of our users know about this. It's a really powerful piece. If you want one or more people if you want to share with them the person and the offer and the requisition, all the information in one place to get their blessing before you go to the candidate and say, yep, here's your contract. So the idea is from here, once approved, you go and generate the contract and send it to the candidate. Well, you can have it approved by the business first, etc. I'm sure you know the drill and the onboarding, but nevertheless, the onboarding phase will start once this has been signed off on. If you don't need that step, and it's a hybrid, it's not like set in stone. Once you said, I want to use it, that means it has to be used for everything. It's very customizable. But nevertheless, for those roles, for those situations where you really want it to be approved, this is how it works. And we're working on already, there's a couple of options to make it automatic comes up. For example, in certain cases, it's enforced. In this case, like because we've gone over the 46,000, what was in the pay data, we can make it enforced for your account that it has to go for approval. The option to submit it without approval will no longer be available. So it's highly customizable. If you want to use it, talk to us if you don't feel it works for you and it needs some fine tuning on the process, on the rules. We're very interested to hear about that. So we've covered now 90% of what we wanted to cover. So we're doing really well. That's why I'm open for more questions. But clearly, this was the centerpiece. We wanted to see how that data is streamlined, starting from all streamlined from the agreements page, starting with the request to hire, where we said we're hiring a food and beverage attendant as a permanent full-time, and therefore they will be starting at level 1, 2, 3, or 4, or whatever it was, the levels. That's how it was designed by the HR team in the position library. So just to recap, according to how we feel this should be working and how we recommend it is, it's the HR team business to sign off on all the pay data here, create it and maintain it. What happened there? Sorry, guys, one sec. It's as if I'm, because I received the email from a different user, which is a hiring manager, and I've clicked on the link. So I'm now sharing the same window with 2 different users. It changed the user on me. So all of a sudden I don't have permissions. Funnily enough, how we said before, the hiring managers can't see the agreements page. Here it is, proves the point, nor the position library. So proves the point, but it means now I have to log on again as the HR person. I shouldn't have opened it in the same tab. Sorry about that, guys. Just give me a minute. And I'll do this again. that was a bit of a mistake there. Head back to that user. Give me 1 second, guys. And stop sharing just for privacy on the password and stuff. 1 sec. Have I stopped sharing or not?
Yeah, you stopped sharing.
Okay. Oh, that's better. All right. All right, I'm almost there, guys. Okay, that's good. So we've got two different windows now we're working with. We can be those two users without affecting each other. All right. We want to log on as... All right, we're back in business. I'll just share my screen again. There, and share. Entire window. Beautiful. Okay. I forgot what the point was that we were discussing. What was the question or something we were talking about, guys? Sorry, Jasmine, do you know what was the question that we were discussing?
Sorry, I'm a little bit lost. While we're in here, Kirsty had a question. She'd like to know if you change the final salary, is that going to update the hourly rate as well? That's a quick one we could...
Yes.
Yeah.
If you change the final salary... sorry, the question was...
if you change the final salary in the final stage of that approval workflow, you're going to automatically update the hourly rate as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speak to each other?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Logged on as the wrong user. I'm just gonna go back. Correct user. Yeah, that's better. Alrighty. Okay, so we were in the offer, and the offer was... That's the offer here, and we haven't approved it yet. So the question is, if we change it here by the approver or...
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
That's correct. So if the salary is updated, will it automatically change the rate as well?
The rate?
Sorry, the hourly rate, I believe.
Okay. I see what you mean. So now the 55, if we, in the contract, we want to show the hourly rate as opposed to the salary component. Is that what you mean? Well, if that's the case, I mean, the approval should have been based on the hourly rate. And we do. It does change, by the way. We flip it accordingly, no matter how you change it from, because we know how many hours per week. So we do that. The answer is yes. But I was just thinking from the very beginning, if this is how you guys do this, the person that submitted the offer approval should have probably done it based on the rate to make sure
Yes,
it fits value. Yeah. And it would have come up here with the rate, and they would have increased the rate if they wanted to increase the rate. Same thing would have been happening, but it's based on the rate as opposed to the salary. But the answer is yes anyway.
Awesome. Thanks, Christy.
Okay. So this really is pretty much what we wanted to cover. The idea is if I'm back in that job, find that candidate here. Once I've approved the offer, let me approve the offer. So the offer is approved. If I go now into this candidate, and the idea is you move them now to onboarding, you select the pack you want to send to them, and the information in the contract is going to be reflecting that. I don't know if the contract is set up properly here. That wasn't part of what we wanted to discuss, but here you go. So the 55,000 is there. So if I've got a salary component here, if I just look for salary, I can see the word salary, but where is the salary tag coming up?
Oh, it's just under remuneration.
Can you see it? Can you?
Yeah, I think it was up a bit further.
Just go full screen. Sorry.
Yeah. There it is. Your hourly rate is 27.
Oh, hourly rate. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. The dollar sign should have been here. We don't have a dollar sign there, but nevertheless, and it says per annum, so that's wrong. It should be the salary instead of the, or that should be changed per hour. Nevertheless, it's very flexible, and I'll explain what I mean by that. As we said before, you can pull the component, which is the salary component or the hourly rate, from this field here as the tag. So if I go here, and that's really impressive, I'll show you what I mean. If I find the requisitions and go into the requisition form that we did and go into the engagement, if I click on this to grab a tag, the engagement tag here, when I click on it, it shows me there's multiple options. So even the final salary, which is the 55,000, you can grab it as 2 decimal or 4 decimal. The final rate as well, which is what was in that contract, the 27, is 2 decimal, 4 decimal. All of those are tags. So clearly in the contract, we decided to grab this tag, and we called it, we had in there, the per annum should have been per hour, but nevertheless, it's really flexible, and you can see that how it works. So that is the final salary. That means the one that was finalized at the offer approval as opposed to what was in the requisition. So it's all catering for that whole workflow to give you the ability to alter that, finalize it at the offer approval phase. It's all part of the backbone of the process. Does that make sense, guys? So you can pull any part of that agreement, the engagement field, all the parts of it can be pulled as separate tags and inserted in the contract to be able to phrase it, legally speaking, in any way that satisfies your business. Including the name of the agreement where it came from, including the EFT, if it's part-time, 0.6 or 20 hours per week or whatever you're saying, all of that can be pulled as tags and entered into your contract template, so it pre-populates automatically. That pretty much concludes what we wanted to cover. So we've got 10 minutes left. I'm open for any question about anything that we've covered today, guys.
If we have some spare time, Alex would love to hear more about the video interviewing feature. I know we touched on it previously in some webinars, but maybe we could do a little bit of a refresher of where that sits
Sure.
throughout the recruitment process.
Absolutely. So the way we recommend you would use it, it's super flexible in terms of where you would you want to inject it in the process. But I recommend to just make it as part of the process here. So what I would do is I would create a stage in here. I'll show you two ways of doing it. I'll create a stage in here. So for example, after the shortlist, and maybe before the phone screening, because in a sense it will avoid having a need for a phone screen. In a sense, you can argue. So I'm going to inject it here. I'm going to call it video interview, or request a video, the video interview. Send a request, Okay. I think it's a milestone for it. Let me find it. Video interview. Cool. We don't need any of that here. So what you can do now with that video interview, you can even, well, even if we just leave it at that to start with, so I'll show you now. If we move now Anwar to, let's say they've just applied, and then we looked at them and we put them into shortlist, or straight away we can move them into it. But let's say you start with a shortlist, and then you move them to sorry, was that the right stage? What did I select there? That was the phone screening.
Above there, above phone screening.
I'm sorry. This is the one that we wanted. So then it prompts you to select which template you want to send. There's a sample template, and this is one that I, as a user, created. There's only one for me. It could be multiple. You choose it, and then it just confirms that this is the template that you've selected. It's got 3 questions. This is tell us about yourself, what made you apply for this role, etc. Nevertheless, that's the template that you've selected, and I'll explain how you customize those templates. You can then go to the invite, make sure the invite looks right, because that's also customizable as part of the template, and the branding of it and all that, and that little message here, the default message to be is part of the customization too. You can go here and customize it. We'll do that in a minute. And the automations aspect of it, in terms of, do you want to set up reminders after it goes out if it hasn't been fulfilled or whatever. So nevertheless, if I go back here, yep, I'm happy with everything. Start and then send. That's really all it takes. And now, we've got here video interviews. It shows you that this is the video interview there. It's been sent. This is the status that it's in, and also we've got a tab, a page, a console for video interviews. So that should be at the top. I'm sorry, clicked on the button. Recent interviews should be sitting at the top as well. So you can see it against the candidate or in the global dashboard for all your video interviews. Now, where did the templates come from? As I said before, the templates come from here. These are the samples that come out of the box. Let's say I can choose to start from, because if you just have this turned on for you, that's all you will see, the samples. You might decide to, yeah, I'll start with this. It gets duplicated and it gets copied into your own templates, not the samples. That's the ones that you can change. So you can go into it, it's in draft, and do whatever editing that you want. You can change that opening statement to whatever you want to make it. If any, you might want to have a video from yourself that they can play in here, for this matter, to welcome them or something like that. Nevertheless, from the questions point of view, you can remove the question. It doesn't delete it, just removes it from the form. That name is a bit misguiding. So you go from your library, that's all the questions that you've created so far, or you can just add a question on the fly. So if I want to add a question to this form, it doesn't have to even be a video question, because you might want to explain a few things as a label and maybe ask them as a multi-choice dropdown, then followed by a video question. So it's very flexible. That's the powerful thing about this. And I guess this is the other point I wanted to cover, because this, in a sense, explains that even the application form, from the very beginning, you can have one or more video questions on it. Or you can just keep it as a separate phase, as we are doing right now, and just say, this is, please complete those video questions. So to add a video question, simply select the right type in here, which is called video recording. You give it the label, why did you find this ad attractive? And it's going to be 1 minute. By default, it's 1 minute, 30 seconds. It's up to 5 minutes. We don't allow you for longer than that. If I do 30 seconds, nice and quick, is it mandatory or not? Just business as usual, just like any custom field, really. And then save it. Simple as that. That's all you got to do. So now I get out of this, and this is my template now customized. I'll change the name here properly. New template for webinar 4th of May. Save. So that's a new template now. I can make it live, and now it's selectable. Because it's live, if I go back now to that same job and go to this same candidate, if I move them back to, say, just applied, just cheating to just show you the new template, I'll go to that stage and the new template is there, select it and send it. Literally, that's all you've got to do. And now this is the new send in there. So the candidate now should be sitting with 2 emails, which shouldn't happen, but you know what I mean. How it's filled, who did I send it to? Let me show you how it looks from the user point of view. Just give me 1 second. From the candidate point of view, I meant, sorry. Okay, I'll share again. Okay, entire screen. Cool. So this is the email that the candidate receives with the default message, part of the customization of the template. They click on it, and it looks exactly like the application form, like any e-form. Our e-forms are universal, so you can plug a video question on any form, really. Application form, e-form, anything. So here's the question. They click on it. I need to allow the camera thing. They start the recording. It's recording now. And when they're ready, they say it's finished, it's uploaded, and move to the next question. Start the recording. Finished recording. And now I can submit the form. Oh, something I haven't completed. It was taking just a second to upload or something. Nevertheless, it's just been submitted. So I'm back in the system now against this person, the candidate. If I open their record again, for example, the status of this form now is submitted. If I click on view answers, it's just a matter of clicking on the question to play the answer.
Awesome. And Annalise just had 2 more questions before we finish up. She'd like to see how you can share those videos with a hiring manager.
Sure. Sure.
So also,
I'm sorry, I was just going to do it right now because I'm here now.
Yep.
And the default of the sharing, I don't think it includes the video interviews. You just have to go and make that part of your default. All the submissions of video interviews, and that's it. So when I send a share now, it will be there will be a tab called video interviews, and they can just play them in the same way.
Awesome. And she'd also like to know when a candidate is recording the video, can they delete it and re-record?
Candidate, yes, absolutely. It's part of the settings, so you can decide whether you want to do that or not. Let me take a look. If I go back to the templates, a couple of things we didn't cover. I didn't show you how you can customize the, and you can do bulk sending, by the way. So if I go back to my templates, this is my template here. It's live. I'm not sure how much you can change, but nevertheless, part of the invite, we didn't cover the fact that you can customize a couple of things in here. Customize, you can have a logo to see at the top of the email. You can, the welcome message, that default one can be changed in here, and the reply to email. Reply to is just in case, although it comes from the generic email, something like video, questions@martianlogic.com. Some people sometimes reply, so you can have a default reply to, in case they reply, to come to it. Nevertheless, this is the customization that you can do at the template level. The question was, I'm sorry, what was the question, Jasmine?
If they can delete the video and restart.
Yeah. Yes, good point. So with those questions, let me go back. I don't know if you can edit it anymore because it's live, so that's fine. We'll go into something that's draft. This is a draft one. We'll add a new question and let's see what we can do with it. So mandatory or not, that's fine. Any advance? No. I think by default they can. So we're not allowing you to change this aspect of it, but I'm certain they can. I can do a quick test again if you like, but please give it a test. We can open it as a trial for you anyway and have a play for a week. Send it to as many candidates as you want. We can do that for anybody. And I'm almost certain by default they can. And when I say by default, you can't even change that.
Perfect. We'll have a chat about that as well, Annalise. Awesome. And lastly, to finish up, Rachel was wondering if we had an ETA on the police checks, police check feature.
Yeah, we do, but it is a little bit later than we were expecting. The org chart import, we've got amazing feedback from a lot of clients in different industries, and those industries have got different requirements on the org chart. One of those, just to give you an idea, we have a great client of ours. They wanted to be able to say, look, we've got this position. It's an 0.8, 4 days a week, and it's $60,000. And we want to have 2 people filling that same position, and they want the 2 people to appear in the same node to be working against that. And this is doing 2 days, and this is going to do 2 days, or 1 day and 3 days, all against that same position. That created a bit more work for us to make sure the import can honor that and it all can function like this. Also for the schools, we're doing something to allow them to have the same person doing a position of responsibility and a position of leadership and perhaps even other positions, to be that reflected in the org chart properly. The same node showing that same person with multiple positions and multiple reporting lines, as a matter of fact, from each position. That created some complexity there. We're working on that, and that pushed a few things out. To go back to the question, I would say end of August is a very solid ETA on the police check.
Awesome. Thanks, Anwar.
No worries. All righty. Any more questions, guys? I know we've gone over time, but I'm okay still. I can still stay on for 10 more minutes if anybody has any questions. As you can see, it doesn't have to be about the topic of the day.
Looks like that's everything.
Big thank you to the folks in WA who, it's a bit too maybe early for them, 11 o'clock. Or is it 9 now? Yeah, it used to be 8. It's 9, so it's not that bad, but still, big shout out to WA anyway. So thanks everyone for taking the time. We really appreciate you. And we hit a few glitches in these webinars, but in a sense, it's a good thing because they are genuine live demonstrations. If you don't hit glitches, it's literally fake, put it this way. It cannot be when you're trying to cater for something in real life situation on the fly with all different customization options and questions. But thank you for your patience with us anyway. The final question, Eddie, if you can put it up, mate, you probably already did that, about how they rate the topic, would they recommend that feature they learned about today to someone else? If you guys can please answer that in every honest and brutal way. This is important for us to guide us through, how you feel about those features we're releasing. That we would really appreciate it if every one of you please give it a rating. It's anonymous. It's a survey. It's not about us knowing who said what. We can't. It's a proper survey. So don't be shy. Be brutal about it, and We appreciate your honest feedback. Anything else, Jasmine or Jessie, from your end?
No, that's pretty good. It's very well done.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you so much.
No worries, you're welcome. Thank you all. We'll leave it at that then. Have an awesome rest of the day, guys, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks'
Thanks,
time.
everybody.
Thanks a
Cheers.
lot.
Wonderful. Bye.
Bye.